Hello and welcome to TestSmasher, smashing the June 2007 LSAT. We are looking at the game section, game number 2, questions 6 through 10. And the previous video showed you how to set up this game, and in the process of setting it up, we actually solved question 6. So we are going to start out with looking at how to solve question 7. Now, I have taken the liberty to clean up our deduction setup a little bit just to make room on the screen for the extra work. Of course, if you have to end up writing out your framework for the game a couple of times on the test, do not erase. It's not worth the time, it's not worth the space, nothing. You have plenty of space on the LSAT, particularly the way they've been laying it out in recent years, and so just, keep hogging that space. Okay, looking at question 7. Which one of the following cannot be true? Okay, so there's really no way to avoid going through these answer choices one by one, but hopefully our deduction and setup will help us enough that this is a straightforward answer. And answer choice A says Harvest is the last film shown on each day of the festival. Well, this cannot be true because we know Harvest has to be the last film on Thursday. It could be the last film on Saturday, but it definitely cannot be the last film on Friday because either G or L has to. So A cannot be true and is therefore the correct answer. Okay, going on to question 8. If Limelight is never shown again during the festival once Greed is shown, then which one of the following is the maximum number of film showings that could occur during the festival? Okay, and we have 3 through 7. So 3 is up here and 7 is down here. Okay, so we're looking for the maximum number of film showings total. With this limitation that Limelight can't be shown once Greed is shown. And so you want to first of all note that you have a total maximum under any scenario of 7. Okay, so we want to try to make as many films as possible using some different scenarios. And you want to try to do this efficiently. So in order to keep 7, which would keep E in the running, or would actually make E the correct answer, we need to have all 3 films shown on Thursday, which means that Limelight has to be shown first, then Greed, and then Harvest. But that means that Limelight can never be shown again, which is okay on Friday because that means we could have Greed and Harvest. But it's not so okay on Saturday because we have Greed or Harvest being the last film. And that means that this blank that could have been taken up by Limelight is not allowed. So we have Greed or Harvest here, which is a maximum of 6 films. So once we know that, we have that scenario. We know that C and below cannot be the correct answer. Now the question is could E ever be the correct answer? And the answer is no, because in order to get 7 films shown in the festival, you have to have all of our potential slots full. And in order to have all of our potential slots full, we have to have both Limelight and Greed on the first day, as we did here, which means that you're going to have to drop at least 1 possible film slot in the latter 2 days. Now, it may be possible to get 6 films out of this in a different way, but that question doesn't care about that. All it cares about is the maximum number, so D has to be the correct answer. Okay, going on to question number 9. If Greed is shown exactly 3 times, Harvest is shown exactly twice, and Limelight is shown exactly once, and which one of the following must be true? Okay, so in order to get Greed shown 3 times, that means that we are going to have Limelight out here and Harvest out here. So we have Greed and Harvest, and I'm not worrying so much about the order just yet, on Thursday. On Friday, we have greed, and on Saturday we have greed, and on the out days we have L and H, and they say that harvest is shown exactly twice, which means that harvest has to go on Friday, and limelight must be shown exactly once. And that can happen in two places. We could have limelight here, or we could have limelight up here. Sorry, I didn't leave enough space for that. So the question asks, which of the following must be true? So the only uncertainty we have is about limelight, and Friday is completely certain. So I'm going to be super savvy. When I first went through this question, I wasn't so savvy, but this is a great way to save time. If you're looking for a must be true, you have to have something that's certain. Friday is the best target for that. If you skim down, you see all the answer choices except for E deal with Saturday or Thursday. So let's start out with answer choice E. Harvest and greed are both shown on Friday. Indeed, harvest and greed must be shown on Friday if that is true. So answer choice E is the correct answer. And we are done with number 9. Okay, and on to number 10. If limelight is shown exactly 3 times, harvest is shown exactly twice, and greed is shown exactly once, then which one of the following is a complete and accurate list of the films that could be the first film shown on Thursday? So our focus is really on Thursday in this question, but we're going to approach it similarly to the previous ones. So first of all, Thursday, harvest has to be last, and if we have limelight 3 times, we know that limelight has to be shown on Thursday. We know that greed has to be out there, and we know that limelight has to be second to last there. So greed or harvest or greed probably doesn't really matter because we're worried about Thursdays. So since harvest has to be last on Thursday, and we know it can't be the only one, anything that has harvest in it gets crossed off. So that's A, C, and E. And so the question is limelight the only one that can come first, or could greed come first as well? So all we've done so far in our setup is to show where the 3 limelights occur. Harvest is shown exactly twice. So we have harvest here, and it could be here, it could be here, that's fine. But we're not so concerned because we're really concerned about effects on Thursday. And greed is shown exactly once. Okay, so greed could be shown on Saturday, but it doesn't have to be. It could be shown on Thursday as well, and we could cross that off. And so we have 2 harvests and 1 greed, just as the clue says. So that means that greed could also come first on Thursday. So the complete and accurate list of films that could be the first film on Thursday is D. And that is game number 2. I think one important takeaway from game number 2 is if you set it up in a way that is well done, that matches the way that LSAC is thinking about the game, and you sort of acknowledge all of the complications of the setup, the questions are actually really simple. And this often is the case. If you have a difficult setup, you have easy questions. If you have an easy setup, you can expect to have some questions that are kind of challenging. That is not so much the case on this game. Good luck.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.